All right, another episode of Eat, Pray, Limbs. This is the soccer betting show for New York. We got Sam here in Chicago with me. Well, not with me, but with me in this area. We're in like kind of a war zone here in Chicago. We got fighter jets going everywhere. So I don't know if the mics will pick that up, but the Blue Angels they're doing Top Gun flybys. So I feel like that's what we're dealing with. So hopefully it doesn't get picked up. But it's pretty sweet. And we're back here again. I feel like last week, I don't know about you guys. I feel like I had a good week, but I had no way to track it because I flew to Connecticut like immediately after this show, land in Connecticut, gambling app, not live there. So I feel like I had some winners that I just didn't get to cash. Sam, how you feeling after week 2?
Pretty good. Most of my picks came in. My biggest one, I gotta admit, we'll get to this when we get to the weekend recap here. But my thesis on Spurs being the better team did not play out. I'll be honest there, early in the season. But yeah, everything else worked out. City scored a ton of goals, and I can't remember Villa.
Yeah.
Villa came through for me. So yeah, good week. Good weekend.
Yeah, I feel like we were unanimous on Villa, and then Dan, you were in Nashville with all the Nottingham Forest North America lads. What were you able to see? What was the vibe down there?
Yeah, it was great. I can't remember any of it, so I'm just guessing. I'm guessing at what went on. Yeah, whatever I won, I no longer have in my wallet after last weekend. But
well, you spent it on a tractor, so you.
I did actually. Yeah.
Out. Yeah, I will say though, my big one, my little prop that I had was Jesse Lingard to get an assist. What the fuck? That doesn't count as an assist? It went off him. Yeah, sure. Like that in hockey, that would be an assist.
And I think in fantasy it went down as an assist. I think I got the points on fantasy maybe, but I'm not sure how that works.
Okay. Well, on the book, it was looking like it didn't pay. So apologies to all those. That's like a technicality, but I feel like that should count as an assist, even if he flubbed it a little bit, got where he wanted to go, and Taiwo just kind of didn't really put much on it either. But it hit his shit. It's like contact, goal. That to me that should count as an assist. So we're off and running. I feel like this is going to be another big week. I don't love the board the way I did last week, but I'm feeling pretty good. And then why don't we? I got to know your take, Sam, on what went down Chelsea Spurs last week. The coaches, everything. It was a wild scene. It was like Harbaugh against Pete Carroll. It was we've seen a couple coach tussles before, but it was the first time I was watching a soccer match, and I'm like, they're gonna fight. They're gonna fight. They're gonna fight for real. Like hockey, that would have been a fight. Soccer, it's like, oh, these guys are just, fake.
Soccer fights are a little different than hockey fights. The most we usually get to is a little chest bumping, a little forehead
noggins, together. But that felt like it was the most aggressive handshake that I've ever seen, and it felt like it was gonna spill over.
I loved it. I mean, I'm a Spurs fan, but sort of putting that bias aside, like I loved this just sort of the rivalry sort of being reignited in this way. It was awesome to see Conte and Tuchel clearly not liking each other. And it's going to build the animosity between the clubs, which I love. The game itself was, obviously wild. Both goals that Tottenham scored were, let's say, controversial. Either one of them could have been, wiped away. And I can totally understand why Chelsea fans were a little up in arms with Anthony Taylor and Mike Dean, who was the VAR official. But I have to say this, the both goals that Tottenham scored, Chelsea had plenty of opportunity to defend them. And whether it was the corner where, yes, Romero could have been, off at that point, just defend the corner, or the goal where Havertz was perhaps fouled about 45 seconds before that. They had plenty of opportunities to stop that goal. So, I do understand where Chelsea fans are coming from, but at the same time, just play defense.
Yeah, quit crying and play a little defense.
Yeah.
What's your take on who comes out of that manager scuffle the best? Because I look back to the big ones like Wenger, Mourinho, and Benitez, Ferguson, and I have to say, Conte, I think, is the cooler customer of the two, and Tuchel comes across a bit like a school geography teacher trying to be cool with the kids. It just doesn't suit him for me. I think Conte is the kind of the winner there for someone who hasn't got a dog in the fight like me.
I think I'm just too biased to really have, because first of all, I've been we know where I stand on Tuchel. He's a terrorist, right? He hates America. He hates fun. He hates puppies, and he hates Pulisic. So I've been out on Tuchel forever. So I'm way too biased to really have a take on this, other than to say that he just seemed like a little petulant, I think, school child, like when he was sort of grabbing his hand and holding on to him like that. And when he ran down the sidelines, I did love that move, by the way, by him. I'll give him a little golf clap there. But if you see his legs were like 1 inch around circumference. And I think he's all talk. I think if it really came down to it, Conte would snap him in half and then snap him in half again.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that one, Sam. And it just goes back to our golden boy, baby Jesus. Like, we need him playing. We need him out of Chelsea. Like, that is one of those storylines. Every time I pull up Twitter now, they have like the what's happening, the trending thing, and they kind of obviously skew it towards you. Christian Pulisic trending every single week. Get him out of there. Get him out of there. I don't know. I don't even really care where he goes. If he wants to go to Villa or some mid-table team where they'll play him every week, he can't be in Chelsea any longer. Like, this is like the biggest American hostage crisis we've had in like Iran.
Decades.
Like, this is
decades,
awful.
Yeah. Well, basically, I do think at this point it's come down to it's got to be one of them. Tuchel's got to go or Pulisic's got to go.
Yeah.
And I'm fine if they want to get rid of the terrorists. It seems like that's probably a little much to ask at this point.
No. Yeah. Oh, I thought you were saying it was a little bit harsh to call him a terrorist.
No,
but I'm
like,
no, that's accurate. Not. He is a terrorist.
100% in on that. But if Pulisic's going to go somewhere, I've been sort of following the rumors. I hate transfer rumors. Like, I just avoid them like the plague. But every now and again, you got to sort of pay attention. Like when Messi was leaving Barcelona, I paid attention then. When Pulisic is potentially leaving in a World Cup year, no less, you got to pay attention. So the teams that it seems like the most smoke around is Newcastle United, Manchester United, that is, Atleti, Juve, and AC Milan.
Sorry, what was the other one?
What in the world was that?
Oh, you're struggling over there.
My phone just went bananas on me.
What kind of alarm? What are you doing?
That's Tuchel. He's in.
Tuchel's on me. I don't know. My phone just went absolutely bananas.
Killed this conversation right away. So, but what it was? It's Newcastle, Man United. What was the third one that you said?
Atletico Madrid, I think you said.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Atletico Madrid, and then a couple Italian teams. Juve.
Yeah.
Juventus,
see, like I don't want him. I want to keep him in the EPL. I want to be watching him every week. I want him playing in the top league. But I just I need him healthy. So maybe Chelsea is the place to keep that going because he is kind of made of glass a little bit. So if you can't get hurt, if you're on the bench, that's the only positive spin I can think of to keeping him in Chelsea. But I also don't really want him to go to. Am I crazy thinking he won't necessarily be in the starting 11 with Newcastle either?
Well, there's a lot of talk about Saint Maximin moving on,
okay.
And that would be that would be a sort of a like for like. He would there'd be competition there. I just think Newcastle is a stable, settled club, whereas Manchester United is just an absolute clown show at the moment. I want him nowhere near United.
Yeah, I feel the same way on that. And so, I mean, we might as well just talk about them now because I think United is – I can't think of another team in all of sports that's as big of a disaster while being this big of a brand as Manchester United. So they play on Monday against Liverpool. So obviously – 2 top 6 giant clubs. Their fans are staging a protest. Like, it might, I don't know the details of the protest, but it's been out there on Twitter. It might just be an empty stadium. Dan, have you been following that saga a little bit?
I'm following the saga on the pitch, but to be honest, for as far as their fans are concerned, I couldn't care less about them. To be honest, they've had all of this coming. As someone that grew up, and anyone watching this in the UK will probably think the same. Someone grew up in a town like Nottingham and, 100 Nottinghams all over the country. During the 90s, half of every school in the country, the kids were Manchester United supporters. And every week when every other team was getting hammered or relegated or not making Europe or whatever it was, and Manchester United, a team whose ground most of those kids had never been to the city, were celebrating. There's a lot of 35-year-olds to 40-year-olds back in England who I wish all of this upon and more. So they can protest all they want, but this for me is entertainment. I would happily pay a premium to watch them lose every week now this season.
I've always hated them too. Both of my brother-in-laws are United fans. that just seemed like I don't like people who pick an easy road. And Manchester United, if you pick them because they were on TV or whatever, they had David Beckham, they had Wayne Rooney, they had all the guys that from FIFA you wanted to play with. That felt like an easy road to me, so I always kind of resented them for that. I do love the fans going through and be like, enough is enough. Like Glazer's out. And because I read into the details of that, I think I might have blogged it this week. They basically just stole that club and they're using it as just like a cash cow. So they took out a loan to get the club initially, a $600 million loan. Then in a little bookkeeping exercise, put that debt back on the club. So it's like a separate, so they took the loan out themselves. Then you're like, you know what? That debt goes on to their balance sheet, not ours. And let's take part of the club and make it public so then we can pay ourselves dividends and not spend any money. The sleight of hand. It's robbery. It's I don't know what else to call it, but the way that they're treating that club, a historic club, and they're one of those teams where it's like I'm enjoying seeing them at the bottom of the table, and it's fun, and they're terrible and all that. It's great to poke fun at them. I feel the same way about the Yankees. I don't want the Yankees to be terrible ever because it's like you want like a villain. You need a Darth Vader to hate, and Manchester United has always been that Darth Vader kind of team, and it's just. Like who you can't hate them. You can't hate the Death Star when it's been left in shambles by Luke Skywalker. So I want them to resolve this problem so they can get back up. And, I don't necessarily want them, at the top of the table, but I want them to be relevant to a degree where it feels appropriate to hate them instead of laughing at them.
Yeah, that's where me and you differ.
It's temporary. They got enough money that they'll figure this out. I do think the last few years have been humbling for United fans, and perhaps deservedly so, but they have been through some serious lean years here. That's the bad news, and the worst news is it doesn't look like it's going to turn around anytime too soon. So like we're talking about some of these new transfers they're going after, Casemiro being one that seems like it's coming to fruition based on what's his name, Fab. I don't love the move. Fabrizio, yeah. I don't love the move. 70 million for a 30-year-old midfielder. I do understand it. I said on Twitter, like, it makes zero sense. It does make some sense. I get why they're doing it. But to invest that kind of money, not just the fee, but his wages are got to be astronomical. You're investing that in a 30-year-old midfielder right now for a team that's not going to be relevant in like the title hopes for at least 3 years or so. I don't know. It seems like you could spend that money in better ways.
Like on a Morgan Gibbs White.
Exactly. They're making the same mistake over and over again. They haven't got a plan. They haven't got a culture and identity. And at the end of every transfer window, they go big in on someone that doesn't fit their plan for the next 6-12 months. And it's glorious to watch. But at the same time, even if they get things right, everyone else has moved on. They've got a huge amount of catching up to do, because even if Manchester United do everything right, there's 5 other teams that are legitimately better than them, and they can't outspend those teams either with the current situation. So I think they're going to struggle to finish top 8 this year, and I think it's a long, long time before you see Champions League football back there.
Which is, it's two sides of the same coin, where it's like that little rant there put a smile on my face, but then it's like, man, like how long before it gets boring to just be like, oh yeah, there's like, I don't want them to turn into a Wolves or a Leicester or something like that, where it's like they're like a good mid-table club. Like, I don't want that for them.
You don't have to worry about that.
A villain.
You don't have to worry about that. They got enough money and then enough sort of infrastructure in terms of fans all around the world that enough revenues coming in, they'll figure it out.
Totally, but then they just pay themselves. The ownership just pays themselves dividends, and then
so when you talk about the fans being angry at the ownership, like there's sort of Manchester United the business, and there's Manchester United the soccer club, and the fans are mad at the business side because the owners are doing exactly as you already explained, using it as their personal piggy bank. So they're actually running it as a shrewdly, like in a well, like what business people would say they're running it well.
Yeah, if I was a shareholder, I'd love it. If I was a fan, I would
make money.
Irate.
They're making money, right? That's their whole. They don't care about soccer. On the soccer side, it's being run terribly, and they've just had personnel decisions, as Dan said, have been awful for years and years and years. I actually think Ten Hag is a good coach. I do think that they can turn it around under him. It's just going to take time. But the problem is nobody gives them. You can talk. You can talk about giving a manager time at a club like United. They just don't get time. You're not going to get that.
And and it's only 2 games, but they are 0-2. They got embarrassed against Brentford 4-0, and then it's like you turn around and you got to go play Liverpool. Yeah. So it's like, we get to come home, but it's like, well, we come home to a protest and one of the top 2 teams in the league. So it's like the road's not getting it any easier. And I feel like that, Premier League's tough. So like you dig yourself enough of a hole. It's not like they're obviously not like a genuine threat to be relegated, but it's, Europe's not like that could slip away from them very quickly. So it's been great to see, and kind of, Forest, and we'll talk about them for a little bit too. It feels like we're on the opposite end. So like Sam, you posted that thing, I posted it too about the clubs that are spending, and as Forest has spent the second most, I think it's just behind Chelsea. It's like this is just a massive club that just came up from promotion, but they're doing it, and everybody's throwing slings and arrows at them now, like, oh, they're spending too much. This little club, they're going to go back down, then the club's going to be fucked forever. I just don't think that's going to play out that way, because they are spending in a way that fits, for largely, it seems, fits the culture and identity that Cooper and Dane Murphy have set out, where it's like it's mostly young guys that they could probably afford even if they got sent down. And then they took flyers on these free transfers like Jesse Lingard and others. And they kind of have this identity in this core and this plan, and it gets you a little excited inside. So what do you make of all the transfers now that it feels like Forest is done? So Dan, we'll start with you, and then I want an unbiased view from you, Sam, and then we'll get into pick.
Yeah, I don't think we're done, so I reckon we'll pick up a couple more, honestly. But looking through the squad now, there's been some really good analysis, a couple of good videos up around who we've got, what coverage we've got, and there's just a couple of areas I'm just going to focus on. So we play 2 in the centre of midfield, and obviously we then play wing backs. We've now got 8 legitimate players for those 2 centre midfield roles. I can see at least 2 of those leaving from last year, but we've probably got 6 in there. So you've got Yates, Colback, O'Brien, Mangala, Freuler, Kouyaté, and then you've got Cafu as well, who I don't know will stick around. He might play further up as backup. And of course, it's a squad game, but I think the way that this all hangs together depends on who he decides to pair in the middle, because up front we play pretty fluid. We play 3 players who are kind of interchangeable to a degree, and we've probably got 6 for those 3, but that's an easier thing to gel when you've got players up there with pace and who can score. But it's all about those middle 2 strikers. I'm happy with. Attacking midfielders I'm happy with. We've got the semblance of the same defence from last year, which is solid in the back 3. Just those 2 in the middle, we need to work out which of the 2 from the 6 we're going to start with, and which 2 we're going to have on the bench, and which 2 are probably going to leave. And I think the gelling, as people call it, hangs on that relationship in the middle of the park.
Yeah, and Colback, I feel like he's the odd man out, but he can provide coverage on the left wing back side, like we've seen. He did that. I don't know, the entire second half of last year, it felt like, after Max Lowe went out, and did well. So he's not a first choice option, but they really only have one guy over there right now as Toff, as Omar Richards has the leg fracture. So he's good. Cafu seems like he's the odd man out. And then that's going to be like the story, because they have so many guys, and it's like, man, Lewis O'Brien looked fucking awesome last week. So it'd be crazy to sit him out. But then you have Freuler coming in. He's supposed to be the most. He's a veteran guy who's played Champions League for Atalanta, and it's like that's like, quote unquote, the most quality. Mangala looks good, So it's almost like you can't. It's almost in Steve Cooper we trust, like, because it's almost they have so much depth and talent there that you can't mess it up. Sam, how do you judge their business?
with all this spending, and that is a sort of an eye-popping figure for a club that people haven't seen in the Premier League in 2 decades. With that spending comes expectations, and and pressure. So we'll see how that works. I like the spending. I like the players they've brought in. I thought they've done a good job of finding, not going for the big names, and bringing in guys that seem like they they worked well against West Ham. And, you know, it's just a huge amount of turnover. And so there's questions there, you know, like when people say, oh, they're spending all this money to just get sent back down, I think that a lot of that will come from experiences that like Fulham had a few seasons ago, where they spent their balls off and were terrible. I mean, they were absolutely terrible. Just didn't gel. It just didn't work. Whatever their sort of theory was, it just did not work. You know, in Stevie Cooper, you know, you guys trust, and you know, I'm rooting for him. Listen, when you guys that win last week, and just sort of seeing the city ground and everything, it's good. It's good. The Premier League is better with Nottingham Forest in it.
I think that was the general consensus when they won at Wembley to get that final promotion spot. Now it feels like they've tipped over the apple cart a little bit, and everybody's kind of pissed at it. It started with West Ham, and they got Jesse Lingard, and now Dan, you sent me, what was that article you sent me today where it's just like all the mid-table teams are just like, fuck these guys.
Yeah, I think there's some genuine issues behind the scenes as well in the Premier League that a lot of the owners of the mid-table teams are pissed with Forest for spending and raising expectation on salaries and basically going after a load of players. And, you know, there's probably the same amount, again, that we haven't signed that we've been in negotiations with, and we've pushed the levels up, and it's annoyed people, which I'm fine with. I think it's great for the game, to be honest. But
I'm sure the owners don't appreciate it.
Yeah, no. Yeah. But, and then Sam, I'm glad you said that about City Ground quickly too, because there were so many videos on Twitter. I almost blogged it, but it's like, I know that I'm biased, but if there's a better atmosphere than what was going on last week at City Ground, like I haven't seen it like anywhere. It felt like a college football Saturday type environment where I saw a video of a guy just riding his bike with this City Ground off in the distance, and you can hear the Mole of Kinterra just bellowing out of the stadium. So it looked spectacular. And I think that, you know, and that was kind of the response from West Ham and West Ham fans. It was like they had a 12th man. They had a legitimate 12th man, and it was that City Ground crowd. And I think Forest, I think they're gonna be just fine. So with that, you guys want to get into some of the games this weekend? Why don't we start with you, Sam, and you can kind of give us the rundown of your top picks this week.
All right. Well, we got to start with the game of the weekend, which is United welcoming Liverpool. We haven't mentioned the fact that, you know, in terms of teams hitting the panic button, Liverpool is one that's got to have their sort of hand resting over the button at this point after two draws,
no dubs yet,
two games. So if you look at their XG, I'm not a big sort of stats nerd guy. Just math scares me, and numbers are sort of, I'm allergic to them. But like, if you look at their XG, right, exactly, yeah. They should have scored a lot of goals at this point in the season. So I do think that it's a little early to hit the panic button. Obviously, losing Nunez last week to the red card sort of killed the vibe there. I do think that they're going to put a number on United this week. So if I'm going sort of picks that I like, I mean, you know, Liverpool to win is just the numbers are, the value is not there. But if you want to go over, say 3.5. Just in the game, over 3.5 for plus 123. Don't mind that. If you're feeling a little spicy, you want to go plus 4.5, over 4.5. It's plus 285. Don't mind that at all. So I just think there's going to be goals galore. Probably most of them from Liverpool.
Maybe all of them.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe.
So I'm on that too. If you do like the Asian line and move it to Liverpool minus 1.5. You can get it at plus 160. So that's where I am on that. I think they're gonna.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all.
I think they're gonna put a hurting on them because, like you said, it'd be one thing if it was like, well, you know, Manchester United going home, all the turmoil. Maybe it's just like they circle the wagons, and which is an American expression. Dan, I feel like you got to start bringing the noise on English expressions too. But you circle the wagons and get that win at home, or at least a result at home. But Liverpool should be desperate too. Like if they're chasing, you know, every week, every point matters. If you have legitimate, you know, top of the table aspirations, and you can't go 3 weeks without a win. Like that's unheard of for them. They're going to put it to Man United on the road this weekend and get 3 points and get probably 3+ goals. So I have a minus 1.5 for plus 160.
If Dan, Liverpool don't win this game, by the way, before Dan gets his shot in here, if Liverpool don't win this game, they're out of the title race. It's
exactly. They have to get it.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I've just on that one, jump in, Sam, before you go to your next ones. I've got Liverpool over Manchester United as well, and I've got Liverpool to score over 2.5, and that's plus 170. So Liverpool to get 3 at least. I think things aren't getting better for United anytime soon, and I think they need to get better for Liverpool, and I just think they'll do a number. So I think all three of us are in agreement on that one.
Yeah, I think we're all over that one.
Any other ones from you, Sam?
Yeah, so I'll go sort of off the reservation with this one. I think West Ham is a better team than what they've shown so far. They are at home and they're playing against Brighton. So Brighton, I've said this before, I criminally underrate them every single season. It seems like
about to do it again.
I'm about to do it again. I think I got West Ham to win this game. I like it at low scoring, maybe 1-0, 2-0. So I'm going to take West Ham to win. I like the under, so under 2.5 is minus 124. So those two together, I like both those. I know that people might not like that bet because Brighton has been playing well, and their XG, again, stats nerds shout out, suggests that they are going to score some goals. But I like West Ham. They got to get it together at some point. They got to be feeling desperate after that loss to Nottingham Forest. So I like West Ham in this game.
Okay, and that's a wrap for you. Those two.
I got one more if you want it. I got
Give
Fulham and
it,
Brentford. Fulham and Brentford, both teams to score.
Okay.
I see goals in that one.
All right. I mean, it's hard to bet against Brentford right now. Like and Fulham has started off the year better than I think anybody probably expected. So yeah, I think there's goals in that game. I'm not betting that game, but I like your logic on that. Dan, let's run down yours real quick too.
All right, I'm going big on a couple. So
you're a swing for the fences guy. You just let's parlay this all together and hope for the best.
Let's see what happens. So I've got a London away day parlay to start us off. So Arsenal are away at Bournemouth, Brentford are at Fulham, and Chelsea are at Leeds. So I fancy Arsenal to beat Bournemouth away. I actually fancy Brentford to beat Fulham away, and I fancy Chelsea to beat Leeds.
Is that war zone?
We're in a war zone / construction zone going on upstairs too. So
I didn't even say Tuchel was going to lose, and he's already all over. So yeah, Arsenal, Brentford, and Chelsea all to win away plus 541.
Ooh,
I like that. So the London away is so those 3 games parlayed. That's the bet.
That's the bet. And then my other big one is. In the last 6 meetings between Newcastle and Man City, Man City have won all of them, and they've outscored Newcastle. I think it's 22-3. I'm taking Newcastle to beat Manchester City. It's at Newcastle. I'm going to take both teams to score and over 2.5 cards, and it's plus 1,600.
So how much of that is just still battered from week 1, seeing Forest just get absolutely dominated by them?
So. I can't see Man City going 38-0 or invincibles. They're going to trip up in a couple of places, and if you look around all the grounds, pick me somewhere. Maybe apart from Liverpool,
place to trip.
There's the place to trip, and I think people may be getting carried away, and it could be the weekend that Liverpool pick up their points, Man City start dropping some points. You could take it, Newcastle or draw, but I'm going big on it anyway, just as an outsider. So Newcastle to win, both teams to score and over 2.5 cards.
I think Newcastle to win on its own is like plus 700. Yeah, maybe plus 800. Like it's a big. You don't give a shit. You're like I think I think they got him.
Man City are going to score, and there's going to be cards if Man City are losing. So I think if you take Newcastle to win, the other two come for free. But
okay,
that's my
take. All right. Well, I would agree with you on that. I might switch that to I can't get on board with that. Man City, it's like
I'm too scared.
They're undefeated. Like I can't bet on them to lose until they show me that they're capable of losing, which has not happened. And I almost feel like they should start like whoever they're playing, they just spot them a goal, and then we'll start talking about can somebody come back and tie them because they've been that dominant. I have a 4-legged parlay from 3 different games. I'm surprised you didn't take Forest. So I thought Forest looked pretty good last week against West Ham. I think Everton's a disaster. You want to talk about team? We always talk about Manchester United. Everton, another team that's a disaster. They don't really even have a striker up top. They haven't had any real success going forward offensively at all. Shout out XG. I don't know what their XG is, but I'm guessing it's very low. They've been kind of tight defense. I think they've been pretty good defensively, but they're just not. They don't have the quality players that Forest has. So I know it's Goodison Park. I know it's on the road. I know Forest are still trying to gel. Plus 310 for a game that, to me, seems like at best for if you're an Everton fan, a coin flip. So I like our guys up front. I like Brennan Johnson. Like Brennan Johnson had the goal disallowed VAR last week, but he took that chance smooth. It did not look like the moment was too big for him. He's starting to get some cohesion with Taiwo. I think they're going to be on the counterattack and make some things happen. I like them to win on the road. Plus 310. We talked about the Liverpool minus 1.5. That's my other one. And then, you guys said, what was the game, Sam, where you said there's going to be a lot of goals in it?
Brentford Fulham. I think
Brentford Fulham. I think Leicester Southampton is going to have a lot of goals in it too. And I like the over in that at 2.5. And then both teams to score is minus 175. So if you parlay those four, it's at right now at the time of this recording, it's plus 1964. So it's a pretty big payout, and I like all of those. You're grinning because I think you're like, well, Forest, they're not going to get that W, but I think they're just genuinely better than Everton, and this is one of those places where, like, I remember talking to Dan before the season where it's like, if they can just get to like 9 points by the end of September, I think they're going to be good. Now I think the expectations have kind of shifted a little bit. So now if you can get 6 by the end of this month, and Everton's one of those teams where it's like no one really expected them to get points against West Ham, I don't think. And now it's like, holy shit, like you start just accumulating those points. 6 points from 3 games is fucking great. And they're on their way. So I like that parlay a lot. And I think that Leicester Southampton game is, I might just, I don't want to call it a lock, but I feel very good about goals in that game.
So I don't want to say I'm not betting on Forest because I am. I didn't put it up there. But I'm taking the double chance on Forest. So I'm taking draw or win, both teams to score at plus 205.
Okay. I think we can group all these together. And we'll maybe try to get that gassed up on the book. I'll talk to Jack McCarthy, see if we can make that happen. But this feels like I'm starting to get addicted to not addicted, but like it's a great way to start a weekend is when you wake up and you're just like, all right, let's get right to it. Little eggs, little sausage, and some EPL cards. So feeling good about it. And then Sam, I don't know if you're coming to this, but I'm throwing a party at Declan's for Tottenham Forest. So I know we talked about it, but so that's a week from now. That's a Sunday game at 10:30 Central Time. I will be at Declan's. Declan's will be open. And let's just have a little Sunday with that. That is the premier game, I would say, on Sunday. It'll be on USA, and so everybody can watch it. And I'm less optimistic about a result from that game, which just makes the Everton one all that much more important. But it'll be good to have the boys out at Declan's on a Sunday. It feels like old times. So, so that's kind of some housekeeping notes. Anything else from you guys before we wrap it up here?
No, there's just one other game I will point out, and it's good versus evil. We got Leeds, United States of America, against Chelsea and the terrorist that is Tommy Tuchel. So I just have to at least shout out Leeds. Like if you're feeling just, I don't believe in it so much, but like if you're feeling just extra, American this weekend,
extra xenophobic,
sprinkle a little something on Leeds, maybe to draw. And
plus 500 to win, and they're at home too. So
yep.
It's not inconceivable, I guess. But yeah, I don't hate that at all. Although I just have like I know it's like anti-American these days. I don't like Leeds. I don't want anything to do with them. I hate that they've got 3 Americans there, including the coach leading the charge. So it's just one of those things I'm going to have to stomach, and I'm glad they're both playing. And if if they got our guy out of there, maybe they just kidnap him. Just a shame they both can't lose. That's the only downside. That's it. So that's like, are they on your hate list too, Dan?
Oh, everyone's on my head.
Leeds is that team that Americans don't quite understand why, but everybody in England seems to hate them.
Oh, yeah. If you had to deal with them and the City week in week out, then you'd suddenly get a grip. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're mutants, just like the West Ham people. All right, well that's Eat, Pray, Limbs, and we'll have this up. It'll be up on YouTube basically instantly. We'll get the podcast out. So thanks everybody for joining, and we'll see you next week. And maybe we'll do a little post game or post weekend spaces or something on Sunday. And that's it. So that's it.
Tuchel out. Save the baby Jesus.
Tuchel out.